Well, hi, JD here again. I thought I'd do a quick 2.5 month update on the M140. I've had the car, I think, about 10 weeks now, and I've just covered 1,338 miles. So it's running, so I thought I'd just give you my thoughts, any issues I've got, etc. Apologies if the main camera is shaking about a bit. I'm trying a different lens on my A7S. It's supposed to have image stabilization on it, but I'm not overly confident that it's working. So anyway, apologies for that. But anyway, how's the car? Well, a few things to talk about. First thing, let's talk about any potential problems that I've had so far. Well, really, I can't think of any apart from paint peel. Behind the front left arch there is quite significant paint peel, and that just happened. I didn't do anything, I didn't blast it with the pressure washer, I just noticed it had come off one day. The other side, the right hand side of the car, there is also paint peel, and that happened when I just used a fairly gentle hose pipe spray. It wasn't a pressure washer, it wasn't aggressive, and literally the paint flew off. So I do need to get that looked at by BMW. Now, I know that Joe Achilles has had the same issue, and he, interestingly, has also got an Alpine white car. So whether it's predominantly a white paint issue, non-metallic, I don't know. So I'd be interested to hear anybody's thoughts on that. But really, apart from that, that's the only criticism I've got of this car. I'll tell you what I really like about it, and I mentioned this the first time I went out in it. The ride. Now, this has got adaptive dampers, so I don't know whether that makes a big difference or not. But one of the concerns I had when I went from my Mercedes E-Class, which, to be fair, wasn't a great ride either, is the ride, being quite a small car, is it going to suffer? And actually, the ride on this car is so comfortable. Even really in sport suspension, it's a great comfortable car. So I've got no qualms about recommending this car for comfort. One thing I would say is, and again, this is just my opinion, if you want a quiet ride, I would go for the 3-door or the 2 Series. And the reason I say that is that the 5-door, I have heard and I've read, still seems to suffer from the BMW rubber creak issue. I had a BMW 318D M Sport 2010. Let's just get past this car. And that creaked like anything. There's a really good product, if anybody suffers from this, called Gummipflege. You can get it from Amazon. I'll try and put the link to it in the description below. And that works. It's in a stick, and you rub it around the doors, and probably for about 2 or 3 weeks you get no creak. But after that, it's back. And I was so irritated by it in the 3 Series that was one of the concerns I had when going back to BMW. I have to say, maybe it's because the 3-door has got rimless doors. It's absolutely as quiet as a mouse. So if you're after a squeak-free ride, literally, I would definitely go for the 3-door over the 5-door. What else to say? Economy. Now, economy is a silly question, if you ask me, really, because when people say, oh, what kind of economy are you getting out of your car? Well, that's a bit of a nonsense question, because obviously it depends on how you drive it, where you drive it, what kind of journey you've got. But what I can say is that I've been going to and from work pretty much every day, 5 days a week, and that's a 15-mile journey with about 9 miles on 60-70 mile an hour A or B roads, and about 5 miles, 6 miles around town, start-stop traffic. And generally I have averaged about 26, 27 to the gallon. One thing I would say is the computer is extremely accurate. I've had cars in the past that always tend to overestimate by about 10%. My Porsche Cayman, for example, if that said 30, when you did a brim to brim fill up, you'd probably get about 26, 27. I have to say with the 140, The last fill, the computer had told me I'd averaged about 27, and I calculated it to be brim to brim about 26.6, 26.7. So it's a very accurate computer. I have seen as high as 34 mpg on my daily commute, and I have seen as low as 21 mpg when the traffic was horrendous and it was just start-stop all the way. But I think generally, if you assumed you're going to get roughly 25, 26, that would be pretty accurate. I have tried a couple of tankfuls of Tesco Momentum. Didn't really make any difference as far as I could tell. Maybe a slight improvement, but as it's 5 or 6% more expensive, is it worth it? Some people say the engine performs better. I didn't notice a great deal of difference, to be honest. What else? Oh, this is interesting. Something which I literally only found out about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, is the fact that you've got sports transmission as well as sport mode. And I think, to be fair, there are slightly too many variables. So what I'll do, I'll just show you what I mean by that. If I put the car into sport mode, now do you see there the revs rised? So obviously it changed up a gear. Sorry, it changed down a gear, my mistake. So I'm currently in sport mode and I'm pootling along, 40 miles an hour. But then what you can also do is move the stick to the left. Now I mistakenly thought that when you move the stick to the left, it just puts it into manual mode, but it doesn't. It puts it into sport mode. So if I'm pootling along at 40 miles an hour, 1700 revs, put it into sport transmission, and it's dropped down another gear, even though we're in sport mode. Now what I find is that all that really does, some people say it will make the shifts quicker, but I think all it does really is it holds onto the gears longer. But why do you need that when you've also got sport mode? So again, if we go back to fully automatic standard transmission whilst keeping it in sport mode, nothing's happened. So it's held onto the same gear. Now it's changed down there, look, but again, across to sport transmission, it's automatically kicked down. And it will hold on to those gears much longer. Back into standard. Now see, at the moment it's holding on to the same gear. There we go, it's kicked down again. So that's something which surprised me really, because I don't really see why you need it when you've also got sport mode. Because the interesting thing is I can go into comfort mode, look. So now we're in comfort, but I can also go into sport transmission. So now we've got comfort mode with sport transmission. Now I don't really understand what the difference is between, because when you go into sport or comfort, you can configure it with the adaptive dampers to have sport let me get this right, you can configure it to sport drivetrain and standard suspension, or sport suspension and sport drivetrain, or sport drivetrain and standard suspension. I think I've covered all options. So again, I think there's almost too many variables. To me, it would make sense that when you flick it to the left, you get fully manual mode, and when it's back to the right, it's in automatic mode. And then the Sport, Sport Plus, Comfort, Eco Pro determines what the transmission's doing. But there does seem to be a few too many options. So let's just try that again. So I'll keep it in, what we're in now. We're in comfort mode, okay, 1500 revs, into sport transmission, it's kicked down. So it's almost as though you can be in comfort, actually it's Eco Pro now. You can be in Eco Pro, but you can have sports transmission. Don't really know why you'd want to do that. Anyway, so let's go back into comfort again. Anything else to mention? The sat-nav's great. I've done a demo on that. I love the voice activation. That works superbly well. Economy we've mentioned, transmission we've mentioned, sports rubber we've mentioned, sports rubber, sport and rubber creaking we've mentioned. But the roads aren't great round here, and I've not got a single rattle One thing I haven't tried actually yet is launch control. So maybe I'll do a video on that. But let's just see again. So let's go into sport transmission. You see it kicked down twice there. So it dropped a gear when I went from comfort to sport. It then dropped another gear when I went into sport transmission. Oh, it's so good. So good. That's interesting. It's kind of throttle blipping more and changing down more, maybe in sport transmission mode. Let's go back into fully automatic. What else can I tell you? Currently we're averaging on this trip, since I started, 25.3 to the gallon, and I've averaged 25.2 on the tank. I'm getting about, well, the fuel light comes on at between about 250 and 270 miles. I found that when the light comes on, you've used probably about 9.5 litres. So there's quite a big reserve on this tank. Even when I thought it was practically empty, I only got about 10.5 litres in. So there's still nearly 10.5 gallons. So there's nearly a gallon of space left in the fuel tank. So that's quite interesting. So I think that's about it. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. Yes, exhaust tips and leather wear. So I've read quite a lot on some forums that even after a relatively short space of time, people are noticing that the exhaust tips are corroding. Well, what I would say is when I bought mine, the first thing I did was give them a coating of Crystal Serum Light, which is by G-Technic. You could use any kind of ceramic sealant. And then now and again, I give them a quick spray with a wax or G-Technic C2V3, which is a ceramic spray. But every time I wash the car, once a week, I just give the tips a quick wipe, literally 30 seconds. And as you can see from the footage I'm showing, hopefully now, they look perfect. So I think, yes, they will corrode very quickly, but if you keep on top of them, they won't. The other thing to mention is leather wear on the bolsters. Again, because it's quite tricky to get in and out of this car without kind of rubbing yourself against the bolster of the seat, people have mentioned that the leather wears quite quickly. Well, again, all I would say to that is, when I bought the car, I gave all of the leather, as I mentioned in a previous video, but also paying particular attention to the bolsters, a good 2 or 3 coats of G-Technic L1 leather guard. I sound like I work for G-Technic, don't I? Well, I don't, but they're great products. But I gave them a couple of coatings of G-Technic leather guard L1, and that seems to be working perfectly. I haven't got any kind of wear, I haven't had any dye transfer off my jeans or whatever. So again, if you buy one of these cars from new, what I would say is just spend an hour or so treating the tips, treating the leather, and as you can see from the footage, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. Okay, let's just have one last little play. So I'm going to go into sport mode, sport transmission. Unfortunately, there's a car in front of me, so I'm not going to be able to do a lot, but oh. Yeah, that's nice. Maybe it does change down more aggressively when you're in sports auto. Let's let this car disappear, because obviously he's a Sunday driver and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do a fat lot. Can I let him go away for a bit? I'll just catch him up, won't I? Let's get him around this corner. Oh, now there's a cyclist! Happy days, brilliant. Come on, let's get past. Oh, maybe I'm not going to be able to show you a lot more driving. Maybe we'll do another video on that. But yeah, maybe out of just playing around with this, I've discovered that maybe in sport mode with sports transmission does make for a more sporty ride. But unfortunately, when you've got somebody who's doing about 22 miles per hour on a de-restricted road, it doesn't help. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just come back to you in a second when I've got onto a different bit of road, and hopefully they'll have moved out of the way. Please. Oh, you're going left! No way! You can't go left! Oh, I can't get rid of this chap. I'm sorry. I can't show you anything more in the car. So I'll say goodbye, and I'll check in with another video on another day. So thanks for watching. Please comment below. I'll be interested in hearing how you guys are getting on with your M140s. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Unbelievable.